Why is it that almost all Christian marriage books cause harm? That's what we were talking about this week on the podcast. And I want to tell you a really, really quick short form version of it because it was just, I really like this.
Sure.
I really like the point. Okay, so here we go. Keith and I, when we were writing our book, The Marriage You Want, we were trying to figure out like, what is the commonality? Like, why is it that almost every marriage book can be found to do demonstrable harm in the things that we've measured? And we figured out that there's a reason, because it starts with a faulty premise and then everything else follows from there. There's a logical progression. So here, we talked about this on the podcast. It was such a fun podcast. Like seriously, the last 2 weeks of podcast, I really loved. Like the one on Love and Respect 2 weeks ago. If you have not listened to that, you need to listen to it. And then this week's, but here we go. Ready? Because the faulty premise is that men are in authority over women.
Yes.
Right? So husbands are in authority over their wives. And you need to justify that somehow. And so the way you justify it is by saying men and women are polar opposites. They're totally different species, cannot understand each other.
And that's why men deserve to be in authority over women, because they're created differently.
Right, exactly. And that when you believe those things, that tends to lead to bad marriages. That's what we found in our survey for The Marriage You Want. When you believe the husband has a tie-breaking vote, when he makes the final decisions, even if he consults with his wife first, those are all bad outcomes. So that's going to lead to problems. And so what do? You tell people your expectations are the problem.
Yes.
You know, you're just not getting your fulfillment in God. And so then people have to get more pious, read their Bible more, think, oh, what is wrong with my heart? And that might work for a couple of years, but then you're still upset. So then the message becomes marriage is hard. What did you expect? Marriage is hard. And then when that doesn't work, they finally come up with, but you can't leave. So you have to stay. And don't worry because your reward is in heaven.
Yeah.
So that's the 5-point plan. And in the podcast this week, if you haven't listened to it, please do. We have just so many clips. And we just show you how these 5 things are in almost every marriage book. They're taught by almost every marriage teacher. And they're not taught in secular books. Secular books actually teach you how to have a marriage you like.
Yeah. Yep, there are definitely some like really fringe secular books that have super toxic stuff that is just kind of like just keep the marriage together. But the best sellers tend to assume that a marriage should be good for you. Yeah. Like the ones that are acclaimed, the ones that are, oh my gosh, you have to read this from psychologists, from the people who are like in charge, quote unquote, are pretty healthy. Whereas the books that are promoted by people who are in charge in evangelicalism are abysmal.
Yes, and so we need to change that. And that's what we're doing with The Marriage You Want. Our launch team launches on Monday. So this is super exciting. And so please, a launch team sounds really, I have a hair in my mouth. It sounds really like scary, like what do I need to do? But it isn't. No. Honestly, all we are asking for is that you write an honest review of the book. On Amazon and or Goodreads or christianbook.com, wherever you got it, Quran, wherever you got it. So we're just looking for reviews of the book.
Really, the launch team exists for a couple different reasons. First of all, launching a book takes a lot of work and is very tiring. And so it's just nice for us to have a group of people who are excited about the book to chat with.
Yes.
So that's a lot of what the launch team is just us chatting about the book, about the research, about what we're doing, about, oh my goodness, look at this interview that's coming out, all that kind of stuff. So it's really just a fun place that's very positive for us in a very busy season.
Yeah, very stressful, busy season.
The other thing that it helps us do is it helps us say thank you to the people who pre-ordered and people who are excited about it, because if you join the launch team, the really fun thing is you do get immediate access to the book.
Yeah.
So no one else gets immediate access to the book. If you've pre-ordered and you join the launch team, you're going to get an electronic version that you can read immediately so that you can write a review that's ready to go up when launch day happens, instead of you having to wait like everyone else, like all the people who didn't pre-order. So that's kind of why how the launch group works. It helps us do those two things. It helps us be encouraged and it helps us say thank you to everyone who supported us.
So all you need to do to join is just order the book early from anywhere. It doesn't matter. Baker Books has it on sale with free shipping. You can order it from Amazon, wherever. And then just email your receipt to preorder@marriageyouwantbook.com. Preorder@marriageyouwantbook.com. And you will get an email back with our alternate concluding chapter, which goes over that 5-point plan. That's all in there that we just talked about. And you'll also get an invite to the launch team, which is opening on Monday. So please do that. We would love to see you there. Okay. I have something else to talk about.
Okay, should we address the elephant in the room first?
Oh yes,
the spinning elephant.
Yes,
we know you hate the fan.
I had several people.
We know you hate the fan.
There is a remote that turns
somewhere
off that fan. Do you think I know where that remote is?
We turned the light off, so hopefully it's better now.
Yeah,
but
sorry,
we know
there.
We're working on figuring it out.
There.
You know what? While you talk about the next thing, I'm gonna try to move the phone.
Okay.
Here. You know what? This is
okay.
Let's see. If we can adjust. Is
yeah,
that gonna work?
You can see the children's lovely art on the fridge. Here, this is my favorite magnet. So this says what it says is, sure, underestimate me. That'll be fun. Yes. So I got that. And then we have our wonderful magnet that I was sent with Beth Allison Barr's new book, Becoming the Pastor's Wife. Isn't that cool? Cool. So yes, her book launches a week from ours. So we're book buddies. Beth Allison Barr. She wrote Making a Biblical Womanhood, and her new book is out March 18th, so exactly a week after ours. Okay, I had a message this week on Facebook.
Yes.
And a woman had printed out our one sheet on the problems with love and respect. Thank you for doing that. That is wonderful. Let's get it out there. And one of her friends messaged her back, and he's a pastor, and was challenging her on it. And was saying that I just had an axe to grind, and Emerson Eggerichs is a good person, and all of this advice is godly and biblical and really helps. And she was wondering how she should respond. Mm-hmm. And here's what I would say, okay? Don't try to argue. Like, you don't need to get on the defensive. That's the mistake that we often make, is we get on the defensive. And I do this. I'm really bad at this. She's actually quite good at it. Like, you're a way better debater than me.
Because I just do not give a crap.
Yeah, I get really defensive. I get triggered and stuff. I know I don't when I'm writing, but in person I do. And I kind of lose my train of thought, which is why I'm so much better in writing. But when we get defensive and we say, well, no, on page 93, he really is enabling abuse. Like, if you read this anecdote, like, it really does do this. And then they argue again, that doesn't work. So what you want to do is you want to put them on the defensive. And here's how I would do it. I would say something like this. So this woman who wrote this download has over 1,000 stories from women who say that this book enabled abuse. She has painstakingly read through the book and noted all of the problematic elements with it. I know you say that the book is good, but what would it take for you to take these sorts of concerns seriously? What else would people need to do? And chances are they will go on and say, oh, but he's a good person. And then you stop them and say, no, I'm not arguing with you whether he is a good person or not. I am saying, what would it take to change your mind? What would it take for you to take it seriously? And chances are they'll again keep trying to obfuscating, but put the onus back on them. Mm-hmm. And then if they keep doing that, here's what you say. We know that 25% of evangelical women are being abused in their marriage. In fact, the Institute for Family Studies, which is a very conservative lobby group and research organization, did a survey in which 27% of highly religious men who believe in headship say that they have abused their current partner. So let me ask you this, Mr. Pastor. When is the last time that you intervened to help a woman who was being abused in your congregation? Considering that at least 1 in 4 women are being abused in your congregation.
Mm-hmm. And being abused by a man who's also in your congregation. Because I think the problem is a lot of these pastors will help the women who come to the church whose husband is not religious. Mm-hmm. I think that's quite common.
Yeah.
But how many of them are helping the women whose husbands are quite religious? And that's why they're being abused. Because it's being painted over with Jesus talk.
Yeah, and then say to them, what are you doing to figure out which of the marriages in your congregation are abusive, since we know that 1/4 of them are? And then ask them, if you're not able to recognize abuse when it's right in front of you, could it be that you're not able to recognize abuse in a book either? And just put the onus back on them. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to stop being on the defensive. We need to put them on the defensive. And so if you want some materials to send to your pastor, we have an amazing toolkit where you can download all of our one sheets, we've got some beautiful downloads of like the impact of the obligation sex message or the modesty message, like broken up, the all men struggle with lust message that you can give them, and just some pointers on how to talk to your pastor. So check that toolkit out. And
we also like the one sheets, the majority of the time when people have used them, we've heard that what's often happening in these churches is these books are promoted because the pastors are exhausted and burnt out and busy, because let's be honest, the asks of a pastor are unrealistic in many, especially in small churches where they're kind of the only main person. They're the go-to for everything. And so they don't have time to read all these books. And so they're like, well, I don't know, this one seems good.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
and
me.
So,
no, but seriously, like, remember when I was leading marriage conferences 10 years ago, I would hold up Love and Respect and say it was a good book. I had never read it. I just assumed it was because everyone else said it was a good book.
And so that's why a lot of times what we hear from people is they say, I brought this to my pastor and he was horrified and he canceled the study.
Yeah.
Because a lot of pastors just don't know what's in it. Like a lot of them. So it also helps to give people the benefit of the doubt until they've lost it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the thing too, is let's make sure that, you know, if your people around you are doing something and you're like, but that's so toxic, and how do they not know it's toxic? Well, they might just not know. So give them a chance to know. And then if they still push back and they're still stubborn and they still just don't care, then you can start being like, okay, I'm just gonna shake the dust off my feet.
We have another post coming out on the blog on Monday. It's up on my Substack today. So my Substack, by the way, thank you. I have over 1,000 subscribers in just a week. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So if you're not on my Substack, please come over. You know, we're having so much trouble with social media platforms right now, and I just want to make sure that you are connected to us on as many platforms as possible, because all these different platforms keep imploding. So if most people find me through one platform and that platform implodes, I will lose people. So today, will you do something for me right now? Will you join me on one platform where you don't currently follow me? Okay, so I'm on Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, Substack, YouTube. And TikTok is going to get up and going next week.
Yeah. And also on YouTube, if you're like, well, I listened to the podcast already, we're creating more and more shorts.
Yes.
As well, which are really easy to share.
I filmed 2 this week that are 10 minutes. Hopefully they'll be up soon. So so please follow me on all those different platforms. And if you're not on Substack, join me there because it's a great place. I like it. But we have a post on Substack today on Friday and coming up on the blog on Monday, just comparing Jesus with the man that Emerson Eggerichs is recommending that men become. And it's quite amazing.
I'm sure that it's the exact same person, right?
And I didn't even write it. I didn't even write this post. A wonderful man named Jonathan Pettinger sent it to me and gave me permission to run it, and we created a beautiful download for that too. So if your pastor isn't listening to our critiques of Love and Respect, maybe they will look at this one, which is really well done. So
especially since you can say it was written by a man.
It was written by a man.
Like, I'm going to be honest, it's ridiculous, but sometimes it's like a man went through and systematically emphasize a man. Someone who is not a woman.
Yes.
Someone who does not have women parts, but has
a man part.
Men. Exactly. So you don't have to be like, you don't have to worry about your masculinity if you listen to this one.
So anyway, as we wrap up today, I'm very tired. I've had a long week. I'm looking forward to the weekend. No one is currently sick at my house right now.
No one's currently sick at my house.
Yeah, so we're just holding on to that. But please listen to the last 2 weeks of podcasts. I think they are among my favorite podcasts we've ever done. So the Love and Respect podcast and the 5-point faulty foundation on marriage resources. And follow me somewhere. And please, please, please join the launch team. We start up on Monday. And when you pre-order the book, it helps us so much. So take a look at The Marriage You Want. We're going to change the world. With your help, we're going to change the world. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.